most of history, manhood wasn't given, it was earned. Today, the biggest test for some guys is sending a risky text or even standing up for themselves. Have we gone soft? In this video, I'll discuss how masculinity and manhood is not simply handed to you due to your biology, but instead an achievement that has to be earned. I'll also talk about the crisis men face today regarding their masculinity and how best to solve it. So if you're serious about your self-development, you won't want to miss this. Masculinity and manhood are not new concepts. In fact, the concept of manhood can be traced to even some of the oldest civilizations that we've been able to uncover. This begs the question, what exactly defines masculinity and manhood? Masculinity is a set of character traits and behaviors associated with being a man. True masculinity across time has been defined by strength, both physical and emotional resilience, discipline, meaning control of impulses, courage, facing fears, taking risks, embracing discomfort, competence, as in proving your value, decision-making, handling challenges, and honor, living by a code, morals, values, standing by your word and earning the respect of those around you, and of course, responsibility by protecting, providing, and leading for your own. For centuries, men have been proving themselves in order to belong to a specific group, earn the respect of their tribe or society, and even swoon women. Masculinity isn't anything unique to today's red pill philosophies, but instead today's beliefs about masculinity stem from the men across history. Let's start with the ancient Greek Spartans, one of the most feared and elite armies of its time. The ancient Spartan had an agog system that consisted of brutal training and survival. Boys were taken from their home around the age of 7 and trained in extreme hardship. They were regularly beaten and encouraged to fight among themselves to build toughness. One of the major tests involved included sending these young boys into the wilderness with no food or supplies, forcing them to survive by any means necessary. The Satere Mawe, an indigenous tribe in the Amazon rainforest, would have boys place their hands in gloves woven with bullet ants, which apparently have the most painful sting in the world. They would have to endure the pain for minutes without showing any signs of weakness or pain. That means no pulling out your hand, no screaming.
Have mercy. Obviously not.
They would have to do this repeatedly over the course of months in order to prove their manhood. This is hilarious because I've seen grown-ass men scream like females when they see a bee or a spider, let alone letting your hands get gnawed off by a .45 caliber bullet ant. Now, the Inuits, indigenous people of northern Canada and Alaska, have a similar ritual to the Spartans. At the age of puberty, they would send their boys into the wilderness with minimal supplies to survive. They were required to hunt, build shelter, and survive in extreme cold without assistance. If they returned back alive, they would then be considered men. In Nigeria, the Tiiv People have their boys engage in public wrestling matches where the only way to respect is winning against an established warrior.
Send me a message, like location, I'm gonna come, whatever you want, doesn't matter.
Which begs the question, then what happens to the established warrior that loses? In ancient Crete, the small island off the coast of Greece, the Minoan civilization had young men jump over the backs of charging bulls. With failure, they would either sustain serious injury or die. If they pulled it off, they would be seen as strong and fearless. And the last example I want to give is the Vanuatu land divers. On an island in the South Pacific, boys are expected to jump from a 100-foot wooden tower with only vines wrapped around their legs. They pretty much act like bungee cables. If the vine length is miscalculated, well, you can imagine what would happen. Successfully surviving the jump means the boys are ready for manhood. Now, these examples are a drop in the bucket compared to what other rites of passage different tribes, groups, cultures, and societies had for their men. While a lot of these practices have faded, they highlight a universal theme. Manhood is earned through hardship, courage, and proving oneself in the eyes of the community. These tests serve the purpose to ensure boys were tough enough to contribute to society. They weeded out the weak from the strong and taught valuable lessons along the way. Now, when we look at modern society today and the current state of affairs the Western world is in, what can we deduce? A majority of the population is overweight and obese. There is a rising crisis of depression in young and adult men. Most men experience social anxiety and a lack of purpose. And worst of all, there is a weakening, if not a complete destruction, of the traditional masculine roles and expectations. We live in a society where men fear being yelled at by their wives. They fear their bosses and allow themselves to be walked on. Men today suffer in silence. We still have these masculine roles to fill, but if our parents don't, no one else is teaching us how to be men anymore. So the question is, how did we get here as a society? Well, I can spend countless hours talking about political agendas and the slow dissolution of the family unit, but we'll save that for another video. The truth is, we no longer have physical trials and rites of passage. At every turn, we're bombarded with comfort and convenience. Today, a majority of males seek approval, validation, and avoid conflict to be liked, especially from women. Most men hide their true intentions, are passive, emotionally needy, and lack boundaries for themselves. If you look at videos of high school gym classes from the 1960s, these teens were physically solid. They exercised and were pushed to their limits. In fact, I was talking to one of my colleagues about this. He's an older gentleman. He said JFK incentivized this specific curriculum in schools and would give out sleeve patches to the best in the class, which motivated these boys even more for recognition. Do you see the correlation here between these young men and previous examples of the rites of passage I mentioned? Instead, today kids aren't even allowed to play dodgeball in gym class or be pushed too hard. We make sure we cater to everyone's emotions and avoid hurting everyone's feelings. So the question is, how do we solve this problem? On a societal level, that answer is complicated and deep. And to be honest, I'm really not too optimistic about the future trajectory of manhood in this part of the world. But on a personal level, by taking matters into your own hands, it can be quite simple. Understand, you're not a man just because you have a set of balls. Instead, prove it to yourself and others, you in fact are a man and deserve respect. This isn't done by words, this is accomplished through action. First, start with the physical aspect. Get yourself in shape and build discipline while doing so. You can't conquer your mind without first conquering your body. And also, when you do get in shape, put on some muscle. Your body is speaking for you and it's telling the world, I work hard, I'm disciplined. Once you've developed consistency with a workout regimen, you can then begin to work on more challenging aspects of yourself. Master your emotions by learning to stay composed under pressure. Avoid outwardly expressing strong emotions such as sadness or anger. Reject that victimhood mentality and avoid blaming the world for your problems. Instead, be a big boy, strap up your boots, and get to solving them. Learn to set boundaries for yourself. There are certain behaviors you simply will not tolerate from anyone, and you will make that known. You won't tolerate disrespect or dishonesty, for example. Don't chase women, chase the mission. Focus on a productive goal, something that will generate an income or bring you some sort of benefit. The most lost men of them all are the ones constantly chasing women. Trust me, when you are a man worth his salt, you won't have to look for women, they will come to you. Which segues me to my next point. Don't be needy with anyone. If somebody wants to be a part of your life, great. If not, keep it moving. You're busy now focusing on yourself. You don't have time to keep tabs on other people or how they feel about you. Stop being the nice guy. Stop seeking everyone's validation and approval. Your mindset is, I do what the hell I want. If you don't like it, sue me. This point goes with focusing on a goal. Avoid distractions. Stop wasting time on the hub, video games, or anything else that is simply eating away at your time. Once you realize that time is literally the most valuable asset you have, you need to stop wasting it. And probably the most important point I can make, surround yourself with genuinely good people with similar goals and ambitions as you. There's a saying out there, show me the 5 people closest to you and I'll show you your future. The company you keep can either push you forward or pull you down. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. Along with a brotherhood, find a mentor. Find somebody who is the person you want to be like and seek their guidance in order to learn from their wisdom and life experience. Human beings have this innate need to want to belong somewhere. This is proven through several studies, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and my own personal experience. Humans need a social group to belong to. That's the reason why a lot of neglected adolescents get into bad friend groups and gangs, because we naturally gravitate to those that show us love, respect, and acceptance. And in turn, we mimic the group's behavior for their approval. What we've concluded is this. Human beings have an innate need to belong to a social group. And when it comes to the things men are willing to do for honor and respect, There are literally no bounds. More importantly, the group that you choose to associate yourself with will determine what you do for that respect. Lost boys will allow their group to lead them down a life of bad decisions, while real men will be productive and contribute to society. Tell me, what are your thoughts on masculinity and manhood, and will you be applying any of these principles in your own life? Let me know in the comments down below. And don't forget to click that like button, hit subscribe so you're notified of future uploads. Till next time.